daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
I am smiling a little bit to myself as my co-chatter tonight, Michael, is far more professional than I am when we're doing these. You don't play those things now, do you? You've got that all added on later on when you do the clever bit at the front.
Yeah, I'm doing a bit of an experiment, but to be fair, to experiment, you need A/B test. You need both there, so you still do me a favour. We'll keep it in.
Fair enough, fair enough. Hello, and welcome to the Daily Newcastle. My name is Iain Mackay. I'm your host tonight. I'm joined by the voice you have just heard, Mr. Michael Grahamslaw, for this rather it's the Derby preview because we are recording a preview later tonight to put out on Sunday morning, but we need something to go out for this tomorrow morning. And what better way to I mean, it's a big weekend, isn't it? It's the Derby. It's the first league Derby for 9 years. It's a big game for us. So we thought we could also talk a little bit around the Derby itself rather than the actual match. I think our next podcast will be about the game that's happening on Sunday afternoon. But I did see, Michael, and I want your comment on this, that people said this is Sunderland's biggest game for 9 years. And yet it's Newcastle's third biggest game in the current 8-day period.
Yeah, it's
Discuss.
To be honest, I've heard similar, and to be honest, it's definitely up there for them. Maybe the playoff was a little bigger, but in their minds, Regis Labrie said it earlier today. Fans have been saying, "Oh, you could get relegated again as long as you beat Newcastle." So being in the Premier League doesn't seem to mean as much as beating Newcastle. So maybe it is their biggest game. And for me, Leverkusen was a bit bigger in the grand scheme of things. Looking ahead to the future, but as a Geordie, I don't think there's much bigger. And Fulham, wow, it's just nice to take the mick a little bit, isn't it? Fulham in a quarter final. Well, no. They're bigger than Sunderland.
No, I think the quarterfinal. I mean, we're defending that Carabao Cup. That's why that's a massive game. I want us to go all the way again and win it twice in a row. It's harsh, but doesn't those were both big games sandwiched either side of this Sunderland derby? But the Sunderland derby is something that we have been wishing for quite some time. I mean, I don't mind admitting watching that playoff final where Sunderland got battered by Sheffield United for about 80 minutes and then somehow came through to win it. I was rooting for Sunderland. I wanted Sunderland to get promoted. I don't want them to stay down in the Championship. I want them up where we've got 6 points every year for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's tempting fate a little bit, but that's what we did say. I think that Championship, that side that came up from the Championship, it would have been 6 points every year, but they ain't half recruited well and started Premier League life very well. I think I'll save some of the stats I've got, which are terrifying, by the way, Michael, for our preview of the game. This is a bit of a more general look at the Wear Tyne or Tyne Wear derby, depending on who's playing at home. Obviously, very, very high profile, very high emotional, very nasty sometimes, can get a bit bitter and cynical and twisted. Certainly, that's just after the game and the crowds in the pubs. But where do you think Newcastle-Sunderland fits in relation to the other big derby games that happen in the UK?
That is the big question.
I don't know if you would like to ask me if I run through some of the derby games I'm thinking about, and you can say, "Oh, it's above that, it's below that," and we'll get it that way.
All right, yeah, that works for me. You'll have got more into this. You'll have thought about it more than I do before.
I thought about it approximately 30 seconds more than you have, Michael. What about Arsenal Spurs?
I think in the modern day, Arsenal Spurs is a little bit bigger. I think 10 years ago, not a chance. But two teams always in Europe, really fierce, local rivalry. It's one I really like. It's always a bit of bite to it. So yeah, I think in the current standings, we're below the North London derby, unfortunately.
And yet, the one from a few weeks ago was so one-sided and so tepid that the crowd were dozing off by the end, weren't they?
Yeah,
Oh,
it kind of
probably
reminded
not.
me of that FA Cup game 2004, 2024.
Yeah. Um, no, I'd agree. Arsenal Spurs is a bigger game. What about Everton Liverpool?
Yeah, that's for me. That is the biggest derby in England. Liverpool, Everton, two massively historic clubs. Everton, obviously not as good as their Merseyside rivals at the moment, but massive game, always a lot there. And to be honest, that last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park, probably one of my favourite games last season,
Mm,
maybe
that
overall.
was incredible.
It didn't involve Newcastle, so yeah, got a little bit of a soft spot for that game as well. So yeah, above us.
Was that when Tarkovsky scored a last-minute volley to get an
Exactly
equaliser?
that
Yeah.
one. Yeah, great
Strange
moment.
things happen in derbies. Strange things happen in derbies. Strange things happens at Goodison Park. Do you remember our centre half scoring twice in injury time to pinch a point that we didn't deserve? Who was
Yeah,
that?
Florian Lejeune. Oof.
Lejeune, yes. Oh, that never
I wonder
happens
what
either.
his
But it
impact
does
is.
it did at Goodison Park. Okay. I think Liverpool Everton is a bigger game than Arsenal Spurs, by the way, if we're actually going to rank these derbies.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
what about uh, what about City and United? That's
nah. It's bigger than City and United, 100%. I think, and I'm not going to go. I'm not going to jump on the Man City who only have 10 years of history because they were a long time before that. But let's be honest, the Manchester derby is not a bit of a joke, but it's one of those where literally Man City were in the third tier in the 2000s. Man United were arguably the best team in the world. And while that gap has closed, it's one of those where City have still got a hell of a lot to do to catch up to Man United. The gap is still massively different in regards to history. I just don't think it has that history behind it to be as big as some of the ones we've mentioned there, or, of course, the Tyne Wear derby.
well, of course, Man United. A lot of Man United fans would say that their derby was the Liverpool game because it
Yeah,
is just the
exactly.
M62. Um, would you agree with that? I don't see that as a derby, though. I mean, I know there's games where there are rivals. You know, Tottenham going to play at Man City is a game where there's a lot of rivalry, and Man City are always beaten at home by them for some reason.
Yeah.
But it's not a derby. Do you think Man U Liverpool's a derby?
It is for me. It's probably the only other one in England that is bigger than the Tyne Wear for me. Two of the biggest clubs in the world, the two best clubs in England historically, and to be honest, two very, very big fan bases that always go head to head. There's always a decent atmosphere, and there's always goals in those kind of games. I remember Salah is one of the big names that's been talked about this week. He always has a great game against Man United. It's always entertaining. And I think it's one of those. It's like El Clasico in Spain, Barcelona, Real Madrid. When the big guns go head to head, historically, it's a feisty affair. And for me, it is one of the biggest derbies in England.
Okay. What about well, I don't know. I think we might have already talked our way out of this even being considered. But two teams from the same city, Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, that's a bitter rivalry. That's a bit Newcastle-Sunderlandy.
Yeah, that's one of those that is much higher on the list probably than either of their clubs merit, just
Yeah.
because that one city being shared. It's another one that's just really, really fierce. The two sets of fans hate each other. I'll be
They
honest,
do.
my knowledge of the rivalry between them, it's not as good as what it probably should be. All I know is every time they play each other, every single time they kick off, and it's always fun to see on social media. But they are two great clubs, two very historic clubs. It's definitely a top 10 derby in the United Kingdom, but I don't think it's as big as Newcastle and Sunderland for me.
Well, talking about fans that have no time for each other, and I think it's a bit contrived, but it is definitely a derby because it's known as the A23 derby. What about your Brighton and Crystal Palace game? There's a lot of needle there from managers and players that have played for both. I think that's where it stems from. Alan Mullery springs to mind, I think. That's a
Yeah.
long time. It's even before my time, that, Michael. So you'll have to go and look it up on Wikipedia. But
Probably.
that
Yeah.
that is much anticipated in the days beforehand, and it is fiercely contested. And there's a lot of bragging rights between the two teams.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the things I've seen from opposition fans is obviously I see a lot of stuff about Newcastle in the Carabao Cup in relation. I get the same about Crystal Palace in the FA Cup, and every single time it's Brighton fans going, well, they didn't play anyone good until the final, did they? And it's like, really? You're being this petty about one of the best FA Cup wins in history? But I guess we would be the same if Sunderland won the was it the FA or the Carabao they were in against City 10 odd years ago when Yaya Toure had a brilliant game. So I guess we would be the same. I wouldn't say it's a massive derby, but it is one that, you mentioned it there. It is pretty fierce. I don't know if a lot of that is just online pretty fierce. Everyone's hard behind a keyboard. But then when it comes to the atmospheres, let's be honest, Brighton, the Amex, isn't really one that you get a very hostile atmosphere at, is it? Selhurst, a
No.
little bit different. But I think Brighton maybe lets the side down on that derby, I'm afraid. I think if it was two Crystal
Well,
Palace, it'd be war, but nah.
one of the other team, if we're going to go on hostility of the crowd, then you could have Millwall against half a dozen other London teams, couldn't you?
Millwall West Ham has to be there or thereabouts. I would love to see either West Ham drop down to the Championship, which to be honest seems the more likely, or Millwall get promoted, just to see Millwall West Ham, because I think that twice a season, I'd love that, mate. I think that would be absolutely brilliant.
All police.
Not for the services, the police
Yeah.
and the ambulance services would have
All police
a
leave would be cancelled that weekend, I think. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Well, so my little trump card, if you like, because I think we've got a little hierarchy there now, haven't we? We've got Everton, Liverpool, Man U,
Mhm.
Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs, Newcastle, Sunderland, and then I don't know. Then you're starting to get onto a whole sort of second draft of derbies. But going and right in at the very top, I think, if we just bend our rules slightly and we don't just look at England, it's got to be Celtic Rangers, hasn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
you put football hatred for more than 100 years by local rivals sharing the city, and then add religion to it as well. That's got to be in there. I mean, I don't know whether Hearts and Hibs would get up above Newcastle, but probably not because they don't have massive crowds there.
Yeah, I haven't. I did consider both derbies. I think Hearts and Hibs would definitely make in the top 10, and I don't think there's any question at all about the Old Firm. The only thing you can argue about it is that it happens 4 times a season minimum,
Yeah,
and it kind of takes the shine off it a little bit. But if
it
let's
doesn't
be honest,
dilute it by much, though, does it? It doesn't
no,
dilute it by much.
a couple of games ago. So it's one of those. It's still really feisty, and I think if it was in England and they were playing twice a season, you would definitely be looking at it and going, that is the biggest derby in football. But because it's Scotland and they do play each other so much, maybe it's lost the shine a bit. But Old Firm, number one. I agree. There's no question.
Excellent. Well, let's close and listen to Ken, but not before we note that that's probably the only thing that Rangers are going to win this year.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
It always seems like he leaves a little bit longer on that break. Every time I'm listening to it, I'm thinking, go on. Oh, he's not. Oh, he is. Good. Right. Second part, bit of fun. And this might be something where our listeners would like to make their additions in the comment section if you're watching on YouTube. Or in fact, if you're listening on Spotify, you can do that there. Although we don't get loads of comments on the podcasts on Spotify, but there you go. Michael, if you could choose one player from one ex-Newcastle player from the past to play on Sunday, who would you pick? Who would you replace? You've got to get the one that's... I think it's going to be close on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fine margins, which is the excuse either manager will use when they've lost. So if it is fine margins, then maybe we can pick a historic Newcastle United player to replace somebody in the current Newcastle United side, just to give us that edge to make sure that we win. I know there's one obvious person that we'd both pick. We'd probably both have Shearer playing at number 9. So we know that. We know that. That's not what going to be our discussion is. Right? Who else would you... You can't have Shearer. Who else would you pick?
Shearer actually wasn't going to be my number 1 because I'm quite happy I'm quite happy with the striker options that we have. There's a few players that obviously embody the derby, but I think one person that I think would majorly change this Newcastle United side, and I'd be going into Sunday so much more confident if he was playing, is Shay Given. So the Irish goalkeeper I grew up watching, while everyone wanted to be Shearer, I wanted to be Shay Given. And I used to ask if I could be goalkeeper in the playground because I wanted to be more like him. My parents had to get all the holes out my trousers and stuff and just diving on concrete. It was horrible. But I was so confident in his ability as a goalkeeper. And he was one of the best shot stoppers, and he might actually be Newcastle's best goalkeeper of my lifetime in particular. And I think we're all really worried about Aaron Ramsdale. We're all really worried about Nick Pope, although we know it is Ramsdale who'll get the nod. And I think if we had Given in goal this season, we'd be sitting top 4 in the Premier League and Champions League, and looking at this fixture as, we're going to win that. A couple others I've got as well, but I want to hear yours before I jump in any honourable mentions.
I've written a few down, but I've got Shearer Given is what I wrote down when I was thinking of it myself. So I agree entirely. If you have Shay Given in goal, it takes one little bit of worry away.
Absolutely.
I would always have on the bench to come on, because he was the Mackham Slayer, Shola Ramiobi. He couldn't stop scoring against them, could he?
He's brilliant, yeah.
And if Eddie Howe is going to bring a centre forward on for the last 2 minutes, it's not Johan Wissa that we want to see. It's Shola Ramiobi we want to get warmed up. The other guy, because I can remember his hat trick, and I didn't play for us for long enough, but I did love him. He's Kevin Noble. I thought.
Yeah, I've got Nolan down.
I thought he is Kevin. Have I got him wrong? Kevin Noble, isn't it?
No, Kevin Nolan.
Nolan. What am I calling him Noble for? He was a noble Geordie adoption. Kevin Nolan. I can't read my own writing. That's what it is. Yeah, Kevin Nolan. Possibly Joey Barton could come on with him, and it would be mayhem. That wouldn't it? There would be deaths. Kevin Nolan galvanised that team. Everybody seemed to grow an inch or two, and I think he brought the best out of Andy Carroll in that team. So maybe he would be able to do the same thing with our other young lads, like
Voldemar.
Voldemar. Lewis, we can imagine him working alongside Lewis Miley. Excellent stuff. So I had Kevin Nolan, even though I called him Noble. And I've dropped my papers because I had one other one, and that was of course. I mean, you could go a little bit further back in the Premiership era. Is it the Premiership era? Is Peter Beardsley the Premiership era? Or have I gone back too far?
Yeah. He scored in the derby in '96. when we
There you
beat them
go.
2-1 at their place. Scored the winner.
Well, he's just remains. He remains my favourite player from the Premiership period, and I would. I mean, if you've got Beardsley in your side, I think you've got the guile and the wit to outscore anybody. So yeah, they would be mine. What a five-a-side team. Quite attacking, isn't it? Jay Given in goal, Shola Ramiobi, Alan Shearer, Kevin Nolan, and Peter Beardsley. Someone will have to fill in at the back.
Yeah. To be honest, there's not many defenders you would put in from Newcastle United's past, is there? Maybe an Andy O'Brien in there just to get the chant going again, but you're looking at like Albert, Beresford maybe, but you've got Lewis Hall out there, and then
You wouldn't
you're also
replace anyone, would you? You
that's the
wouldn't
thing.
replace anybody here.
Yeah. But I do completely agree with Kevin Nolan. I think it's a Kevin Nolan style player is what that team, the current team, is missing. A pure poaching number 10. Someone who could get in between the lines, complement the striker, like you mentioned with Andy Carroll. And honestly, it was like roast potatoes on a Christmas dinner. Beautiful. Went together so well. And honestly, you'll never see anything like it again, I don't think.
Kevin Nolan and Andy Carroll was like roast potatoes on a Christmas dinner. Excellent. Who were the
Exquisite.
sprouts? Who were the sprouts? Sorry.
Peter
That's,
Loving. No, that's
that
really
was a,
harsh. I really like Loving
that's
Krantz.
a question I didn't expect I would be asking tonight. That Michael. Yeah.
The
Um.
Sprout, and Guthrie.
And have you any suggestion? I mean, the other way round. The players from the past, I am so glad, aren't playing for Sunderland. The way it all circles around there, Kevin Phillips,
Yeah.
Jermaine Defoe, don't want him. Oh, not Jermaine Defoe, no, thank you. Um, I can't really think of anybody else. As long as Paolo Di Canio's not managing them, would be all right.
There is one who, in my years, my short spells as a bartender, I used to always have to work Derby Day. And I remember watching the games on the telly and being like, right, there's one player who from that team in the 2010s who I dreamed we'd picked up instead of them, and it was Stefan Sessegnon. But he's one of those, number 10, really tricky. I always thought he would have a man of the match performance against us. Him and that other winger they had, who probably shouldn't be mentioned on any podcast, given the fact he's a wrong'un, and all Sunderland fans still celebrate him, the little rats they are. But on a better note, yeah, Sessegnon was a true talent who just seemed to turn up against us every time, and I'm very, very glad he isn't coming we're not going to play against him on Sunday.
That's true enough. And that the other guy out on license now. By the way, he's paid his debt to society, Michael.
I don't think you
still shouldn't be celebrated, though. To be fair. Anyway, can we finish on that? No, we can't. We can't finish on that. I'll ask you one last question, which was nearly going to be a whole section, but there's not enough. How on earth have we only won one of the last 10 league derbies, Michael? I think the last one was Ryan Taylor's over-the-wall free kick in 2011. Yeah.
You're gonna miss. No, he won't and didn't. I love that. Yeah, it's one of those, and there's been a lot of torment over the years. And we've spoke a lot about, you mentioned Sunderland players there, Kevin Phillips, Jermaine Defoe. I mentioned Sessegnon, the other winger as well. But the big issue we seem to have against them was that we just couldn't score in a lot of games. I remember they beat us 3-0, 3 times, 1-0, 3 times, I think, as well in that run. And no, they'll beat us 1-0 once, sorry. But the other games were like 1-1s, and it's one of those where you're thinking, against Sunderland, they weren't a very good team. You should be putting at least 2 past them in a highly compact game. And it's one of those where maybe, just maybe, and I think this was the case in the 2010s, the derby just meant so much more to Sunderland than it did for Newcastle. Because when Newcastle got back into Europe under Alan Pardew, it was almost like that arrogance of, oh, that's where we should be, with like sort of came back for a while. And it was even in some games where we were sitting there 17th in the table, we always had the idea of, oh, we're better than this. We should be doing more than this. We want to be in Europe. Well, for Sunderland, I mean, we mentioned it earlier. Regis Labrie came out today and said, oh, fans have been telling me, oh, you could get relegated at the end of the season as long as you beat Newcastle. And it's like, if that's a mentality you have, I'm sure it's not the case with most of the fans, but it just shows this is their biggest game of the season. And it has been probably in the history of Sunderland every single year where they didn't make a final. For Newcastle, it's not just another game, but it isn't the biggest game of our season most of the time. It's a really good one, but I think most of the time they've just wanted it more.
Yeah, well, they certainly played like they did.
Yeah.
It's I sat through all of them. Horrible 3-0 defeats at home.
Yeah.
Canio doing the knee slide in his suit. They are iconic moments for Sunderland fans, but they make me shudder. I wish I could get my memories wiped. Right,
Jack
that's it.
back the 3-0. I still have.
We're going to finish. We're going to finish with the memory of Paolo Di Canio doing his knee slide up the touchline at St James's Park, whilst also saying that was a 3-0 win, and the last time we played Sunderland was a 3-0 win at the Stadium of Light. And we were putting out quite a lot of players from that team. Sunderland won't, of course, but hey, we've got half our team has got experience of these derbies, and I don't think any of their team has. I think we'll be better briefed for it. Eddie Howe understands what's going on. He knows the score, and he knows what it means. Anyway, that's our derby preview. Thank you very much indeed, Michael. We are going to come back soon with Kevin in tow, I think, for the proper preview, which you'll be able to hear on Sunday morning. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. We bid you farewell.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.